Every time you're pushed a little bit further, you gain a little bit more of that extra strength inside.
And you really have to dig deep and find, inside the motivation. Like, I want to be a naval officer. This is something I have to do to get to
And you have to remember
point.
that you're here to be a naval officer, you're here to serve your country, and you have to remember the bigger picture, because if you don't have the passion for the whole reason you're going through this, you're not going to make it. If you're just curious about this program, you're not going to make it. You really have to have the passion, you have to love your country, and you have to come for the right reasons.
While being a Navy officer is one of the most rewarding careers in or out of the military, it is not simply a job or 9-to-5 occupation. Being a Navy officer is a lifestyle. For those willing to make the commitment, you will find that Officer Candidate School, or OCS, includes 12 weeks of the most intense and rigorous of the Navy's officer training programs. It all begins at Naval Station Newport, Rhode Island.
On the day we arrived at OCS, I remember being completely scared out of my mind. I do remember that when we arrived, you come into that first building and you're doing all this paperwork, and I later found out that this was strategy, but right when you come in, they're actually kind of nice to you. They treat you like a human being, and you're like, oh, this isn't going to be too bad.
Callahan Hall, when we got there, they took height and weight. It was very relaxed, very mellow. And I said, okay, this not too bad. This not too bad from what I've been hearing. So I said, okay, I could do this. Little did I know that was the quiet before the storm.
Well, it was just mayhem, and you were told to do all these instructions. You're here, tie your shoes, tuck your pants in your socks, tuck your shirt in, and you're trying to do all these things at once, and you use mayhem. As you proceed up to the poopy suit room, you are instructed to give 3 slaps on the door and give a verbal greeting as you enter the room. Of course, everyone messes this up, and as soon as you mess that simple instruction up, there is more mayhem.
And it really settles after the check-in process is over and after your family's left and you're sitting in the B-way and you realize, wow, I have 12 weeks of this. It can be a bit daunting.
Training at OCS encompasses 3 phases: the indoctrination phase, the academics phase, and the applied leadership phase. The 1st through 4th week of training comprise the indoctrination phase. Students are referred to as indoctrination candidates during this initial phase of training. The main focus of training during weeks 1 through 4 are militarization, military drill and the manual of arms, and the one aspect that never changes throughout the 12 weeks, physical training. The indoctrination phase of training is the most critical phase. Students who choose to drop out of training typically do so during this phase.
By far, the biggest reasons that candidate officers give us for dropping out of the program is that they lack commitment or no longer desire or lack the motivation to be naval officers. You should have this resolved in your own mind. OCS is demanding, it's intense, it's stressful, it's meant to be stressful. One of the reasons is to test the commitment of each and every student. The first week of OCS is particularly challenging. It is designed to be challenging. It is meant to cause every candidate to question why they're here, to ensure that they have the necessary level of commitment.
During the first few days, new arrivals are instructed and mentored by candidate officers. Candidate officers are in their 9th through 12th week of training. The candidate officers are in the leadership phase of training, and one of their jobs is to prepare the new students for the training they are about to receive. They welcome, check in, and move the new students through the day of arrival activities.
And then we take them down to get their haircuts and their sea bags full of items that they will need throughout the course of this program. And it's pretty shocking for some of the females because a lot of them have long hair. I had 13 inches more than what I have now. And so you have to get it cut to your, right to your chin. And if you're not mentally prepared for it, it's quite a shock.
And for a female, barbershop's no good. Females go to salons, so when they take you into a barbershop and ask you to pay $12 for a haircut, I'm like, I'm used to paying $40. What's this about? So you hand them your $12 and they chop all your hair off.
The new students have not yet met their OCS staff class team that will be responsible for their training, but this is about to change. and soon.
My hatchmate and I woke up probably an hour earlier than he came in, just to try to be as best prepared as possible. We didn't really know the time because we didn't have watches or alarm clocks at that time, so we just kind of just ballparked it.
While students are without any means of telling time, there is no problem with anyone being late for training evolutions. The Navy has a time-proven method that provides personalized wake-up calls for everyone.
The first 3 weeks, it includes the day that you meet your drill instructor, which is called Wake Up Wednesday. Wake Up Wednesday, he busts into your P-way, which is your hallway, at an ungodly hour. And he starts banging on the doors, telling everyone to get out on line. You get out, he puts you on your face, makes you do push-ups, he's yelling at you. And that's basically, hi, I'm your drill instructor, nice to meet you.
Training is conducted by a team consisting of a class officer, normally a Navy lieutenant who has completed one tour of duty in the operational forces, a recruit division chief petty officer, known as an RDC, and a Marine Corps drill instructor, or DI. They are the best the Navy and Marine Corps have to offer. They are highly motivated and dedicated to developing officer candidates into the best Navy officers possible.
Class drill instructors play a major part in the success in coming through officer candidate school. They are with you from day one until the day you graduate. They keep you disciplined, they keep you on time, they keep you very focused and locked on the reasons why you are here.
Class drill instructor has always said, I will not give up on you even when you give up on yourself. And so that is really the motto here.
Not only is the class training team highly motivated, but they are experts at motivating students as well.
Remedial physical training is given to you by the drill instructor or RDC when you make mistakes. So basically, they usually only last for about 10 minutes, but over a period of the day, you can be given several RPTs, and all together, if you're RPT'd a lot through the day, you can be pretty sore.
Also in the first 3 weeks, you have Outpost, which is one of the biggest evolutions that they do. You pack your sea bag with up to 50 pounds of gear, and they make you carry it in front of you, and you're not allowed to lock your hands. You have to bear hug it. It's really painful, and it's really hard. But I will say that at the end of Outpost, you really do feel a huge relief, and you do feel a lot of pride in yourself for finishing that. It's a really difficult evolution.
As training continues, students begin to concentrate on room, locker, and personnel, or RLP, inspection. This evolution occurs on the 4th week of training and is the culmination of the indoctrination phase of training. RLP entails the RDCs and DIs inspecting students as they've never been inspected before. Attention to detail is a phrase students hear on a daily basis. At RLP, the phrase attention to detail is clearly understood.
That 4th week RLP inspection, room, locker, and personnel, was really a challenge for me coming into the Navy. I prepared myself physically, I prepared myself mentally, but I didn't prepare myself for that kind of inspection with where you got to prepare all those items to a high level of detail. You got to have your belt buckle just so, have your rack made just so, have your shirts folded just so.
Room, locker, and personnel inspection, RLP, is the first major evolution where candidates actually begin to fail and roll out of your class. I myself failed the first evolution of RLP.
The inspection itself, the whole morning, because when you're not being inspected and everyone else is, you're at parade rest and you're hearing what's going on, so pretty much the most intense 2 hours of my life.
And that's what they're looking for in a naval officer, is someone who can perform under that pressure in the fleet, when their sailors are depending on them to perform, when they have the controls of a multi-million-dollar warship or a multi-million-dollar airplane. They have to be able to perform and maintain their bearing and composure during those times.
I knew it was coming, but reading about it on the internet and, reading blogs and watching YouTube videos doesn't actually prepare you for when you get inside and you actually have those people screaming in your face.
It is important that candidates learn here what stress feels like, how their minds and bodies react to it, and how they can cope and overcome it.
The purpose of the inspection is to teach candidates the importance of paying attention to detail and following instructions. If they think the instructions for the RLP are detailed and meticulous, wait until they see the procedures that they have to follow to shoot Tomahawk missiles and operate other weapon systems out in the fleet.
From what I've learned from this isn't a game, really. A lot of the stuff you do here is important. Some of the stuff you may think it is a game, but it will be utilized in the fleet and for the stuff you do here to succeed at OCS.
The second phase of training occurs from weeks 5 through 9. This is the academics phase. Instead of indoctrination candidates, students are now referred to as officer candidates.
And then after RLP, which is the first room inspection, you start classes, you start academics, the stressors change. Then it gets harder mentally and you have to manage your time. They give you, I wouldn't call it free time because it's mandatory study hours, and believe me, you do need every hour that you can study. But the stressors definitely do change.
It's a transition point during the program because before that we've gone through military indoctrination, a lot of physical training, a lot of drilling, a lot of discipline. And at that point, we're starting to have a little bit more responsibility. We have to get to class on our own.
As the name implies, the emphasis in this phase is on academic curricula. Although training and military drill continues, students spend most of the day in the classroom. The curriculum includes courses on naval operations and seamanship, sea power and naval history, navigation, engineering, weapons, and leadership. While the second phase may not seem quite as hectic as the indoctrination phase, officer candidates are still held accountable.
In the 6th week, we do ORLP, which is the Officer Room Locker Personnel Inspection. And the focus on that is knowledge, and there's a little bit of the inspection involved. It's just some simple instructions, and if you know how to wear the khaki uniform. But that's mainly knowledge-based. It's very different because you're not shouting, it's an officer, and they're not putting you on your face and making you do push-ups. So it's a different focus, but you still have to prepare for it.
The newest addition to OCS training, known as high ropes, also occurs during the officer candidate phase of training. After undergoing numerous safety procedures and briefs by instructors, officer candidates are put through many stressful obstacles on the high ropes course.
The main objective is to instill confidence, and the secondary objective of the course is for them to learn communication skills. And even though some of the students might not realize that out here, communication is a key part, but having the confidence to get over some of your fears, even though you have that fear, that's one of the main purposes of this course is you have that fear, to get over that fear, to take control of your emotions, know you got your safety and you got the training, and to go through the course. So that's the main objective.
Another important aspect of the second phase, as with all phases, is physical training. As the second phase emphasis on classroom curricula packs most of the hours of every day, RDCs and DIs schedule special physical training sessions during pre-dawn hours. One of the challenges of RDCs and DIs is that many students arrive to OCS in less than stellar physical condition, or at the least, suffer a misconception of what to expect from a PT standpoint. One of the main keys to success in OCS is that all students should condition themselves physically before reporting.
We place great emphasis on physical training at OCS. PT consists of running, calisthenics, and strength conditioning. All students need to be within the Navy's body fat standards before coming. That's 22% body fat for males and 33% body fat for females. Students also should spend time conditioning themselves physically before reporting. All students take a physical fitness assessment during each phase of training, and they must meet minimum standards before they can continue in training and before they can graduate.
If you're out of shape, we have Marine Corps drill instructors disciplining us and getting us into shape. So if you're out of shape, do not plan on coming to OCS. And that's the bottom line. They're here to push you and to make you stronger.
The OCS website, www.ocs.navy.mil, contains an entire page devoted to information on physical training, including video of proper form and repetitions required for each exercise. The third and final phase of training is the applied leadership phase. Students are now referred to as candidate officers. During these final 3 weeks of training, the candidate officers now run the regiment of officer candidates.
To be honest, I don't think that those minor details and questioning everything that they were asking you to do, I don't think that all started to make sense and really come into like a big picture sort of view until the very end, like a candidate officer phase, when you're actually in charge of the regiment, when you're in charge of these indocs coming in, and you're starting to realize that when you tell them to brace the bulkhead and stand at attention and do things a certain way and remember things a certain way and say things a certain way, you start to realize how it plays into their training and then into the fleet when they leave. So that's when I realized it, when I was the one who had to instruct the younger classes. That's when I was like, wait, I need to tell them this, they need to remember this because it's going to be important.
In addition, third phase offers the candidate officers an opportunity to partake in further training experiences, including the wet trainer and firefighting.
For firefighting training was actually a very neat evolution. You started off, we went into the classroom, we learned about the different safety precautions, the different kinds of fires that can happen on a ship, and just got us familiar about the different kinds of equipment that the damage control wears, or what we would be wearing. And we did a couple of different scenarios. The first scenario was about runaway hoses, and then we went and we learned how to work as a team carrying the hose to fight a fire.
With the USS Buttercup, it was a wet trainer evolution where we had to get on a ship and simulate the ship being hit by a torpedo and it was flooding. The instructor was very helpful for personnel who never been on anything like this before, and they were very outstanding in all their efforts.
As graduation approaches, candidate officers begin to focus on some personal goals as well. A gathering for friends and family on the evening prior to graduation, known as Hi Moms, allows candidate officers a chance to reunite with family members and friends in a relaxed setting. Also on the day prior to graduation, the candidate officers conduct a pass and review for the families as well. The culmination to the 12 weeks of rigorous training finally arrives in the form of the class graduation. As the proud families look on, the Navy's newest ensigns are sworn in, and the previous 12 weeks seem to have passed quickly. However, the new officers have one final duty to perform before they are ready for the fleet. They move on to the waterfront to receive their traditional first salutes from the RDCs and drill instructors. The United States Navy is the most highly capable, most technologically advanced Navy in the history of the world. Its officers must be highly committed, ethical leaders of character.
You know, as naval officers, the responsibility you're given is tremendous. And we all talk about equipment and, you know, billions of dollars of electronics and ships and planes and everything else. But truly, the most important thing are the men and women that are going to serve under you, that you're going to be responsible for. You know, you take these young 18, 19-year-olds to war, and you're responsible for them on a daily basis. You're sending them out into harm's way. As the officer, you're making the tough decisions. But as officers, they have to understand, you know, you ask a parent how much their children are worth, they'll say, you can't put a price tag on it. Now times that by 40 or 50 if you're a division officer of a large division, and that's your responsibility. That's a responsibility you have as a naval officer. And that's what we're testing here at OCS, to see if you can handle that before we put you out in the fleet and you're responsible for all those lives. Equipment can be replaced, young men and women can't.